outreach and sharing about children's abilities, and loving where this mission is going, because kids from all over the world are joining in, wanting to be seen for what they can do instead of what they can't do. So it's a wonderful mission. Thank you for joining us with that. But I do want to let you know that although you see Ben having spontaneous speech in his videos, which is great, he has unscripted, spontaneous language now, which was not always the case. And I know it's what everyone is striving for when their child has not always the case. Hasn't always been this way. When he was little, just to give you a slight background on him before I get into the nitty gritty, he did have language when he was, little. Typically how you would develop. He walked, he spoke, the whole typical development until about just under 2 years. And this is kind of a long story, but he got very sick and he lost all speech. And he got into that zone that a lot of these children get into, which is he lost a lot of his personality. He became very zoned, OCD, a lot of stims, a lot of repetitive behaviors, no language. Lost that language and then no language. And we were told a lot of different things about Ben. We were told he would probably never speak. We were told he had mental retardation. We were told they weren't even going to teach him to write, and I can go on and on. But like everyone in this journey, you do what you have to do early on, and we brought in every therapist, every team, every research I can do as his mom to figure out what do we do from here. And then the worry about where is he going to be, as an adult or down the road. And I know you can all relate to everything I'm talking about. And that was our journey, very similar to probably what you guys have been going through. Except what started to happen is he started to gain some speech, but it wasn't speech that was spontaneous. It wasn't conversation with me. It was self-talk, and it was prompted speech, like say this word, one word that was given to him to say. And what started to happen right around maybe like 5 years old or so, some things were happening in his therapy that weren't sitting right with me. And I just want to make a disclaimer. Please know that I'm not a therapist. I'm not a speech therapist. I'm not an ABA therapist. I'm not telling you what to do with your child by any means. You have to go with your instinct. But I do want to share what happened with Ben, because it helped him so much that I'm hoping that if you can make some of these changes, you may see a difference for your child as well. Okay, so 2 things that weren't sitting well with me through this process of all his therapy and all his therapy goals. One was Ben was a self-talker, and they wanted to quiet that. They wanted to extinguish that, or lessen it and teach him only to do it at certain times. And I'm all for teaching time and place with self-talking as they get older. And I have a good strategy for that. I can share with you another time. But when you have a child with autism and the only time you hear them making words is self-talk, it felt weird to me to want to make that go away, because otherwise I would hear nothing from him. So I didn't love that feeling. And then also the stimming, the flapping when he would self-talk. There was a lot of movement, and they wanted to replace that movement with hands down, or instead hands in your pocket. And they just wanted to, because this for some reason is not appropriate or typical in society, and this is an aside, we need to change that. We need to change people's perspectives of this and allow this, because this is helping these children talk. So we all do it. We twirl our hair, we tap our pens, we tap our feet. This is just a different way that they crave movement, and it's really helping them. So not liking those 2 things in my therapy goals that were written for Ben, I started to do my own research, and coincidentally, you all know that Ben is very musical, and even at this age, he had a keyboard and he would play on the keyboard, and he was beating the pots and pans on the drums, and I saw a music school open near me for special needs at the same time. It's called the Music Academy for Special Learners. It's in Hauppauge, New York, if any of you are local here. And I went there. I went to their open house. I wanted to learn more about this program for Ben, and I happened to meet a physician there named Harry D. Schneider. And this was like a turning point for me. Dr. Harry, we call him, Dr. Harry had met the owner of the Music Academy because he was studying functional MRI studies of the brain at Yale and Columbia, and looking at many different variables of how speech can be spontaneously produced in children. And one thing he was looking at was music. So he connected to this music school, and I met him there. And I have followed with him for some time after this. And you could Google him if you want to learn more about him, Dr. Harry D. Schneider. If you Google him and functional MRIs of the brain, you'll find him. He has a website. Anyway, I expressed my concerns about, he talked to me for some time, and I expressed my concerns about some of the therapy approaches we had going on with Ben. And he affirmed with me and explained a lot of research studies going on, and he affirmed for me over time what I kind of instinctually felt like I wanted to do with Ben. And these were the game changers for Ben. So number one, ready? First thing I did for Ben is I allowed him to self-talk. Don't shut off the self-talk. Even Dr. Harry would tell me, never stop a kid with autism from talking at all. Unless, they're in a library or a church and it's really inappropriate. But at the time that you're looking for speech to develop, you can use that self-talk to try to bring out some functional language. So, joining the self-talk. What are they self-talking about? Kids with autism tend to self-talk about things that they love, things that they're obsessed with, things that make them happy, things they're seeing on TV that they like a lot. And they're engaged, they're focused in that, they're really focused in them. So if you join that conversation, you tend to get engagement back with them. They may not talk to you right away, but let's say, for example, Ben is self-talking about Elmo. Maybe he's just saying Elmo, or a little sentence Elmo says. I would hear it, and I would join that. Oh, wow, you're talking about Elmo, Ben. I love that episode when Elmo goes to the doctor. It's so funny. Do you like that episode too? Now he might smile at me, but I do have him engaged. I definitely had him engaged. So this is the time to model some good speech and talk to them about what they're speaking about. You want to take the self-talk, which is coming from a different part of the brain that spontaneous language is coming from. And we want to retrain their brains to start using the neural pathways to produce spontaneous speech. So you can get into that self-talk and utilize it as a tool to bring out some more spontaneous, or train those neural pathways into some more spontaneous language, because they're talking about things that really have their attention and that they're really into. So join their self-talk. Listen to what they're talking about. Talk about it more to them. Describe it to them. Ask questions even if they're not answering you at this point. Answer the questions yourself for them. But engage in these types of conversations. That was a big thing. When I decided to change up Ben's way I was speaking with him, I lost therapists on my case. They left. They were lovely, but they said this is not the way we're trained to work, and I respect that. I do. And a couple therapists stayed on and said, I'm kind of really interested to see where this goes, and they stayed on more out of curiosity than anything, but they let me design his therapy protocol, and this is what I did. And I had the help of Dr. Harry, and I started with utilizing self-talk. Second thing I did was I did not ever make him stop flapping his hands or stopping the body movement. These functional MRIs show that movement and language centers are very, very interconnected. So just to give you a little brain education, Our prompted speech, when you're prompting a child to talk, when you're giving them the words, their scripted language, that's coming more from here and here and here. Speech that we want, spontaneous language, is the left, like frontal brain, and movement is the right. I mean temporal lobe, like here, and movement is the right. Movement and speech, very connected. So this that you see in a lot of Ben's videos is helping him. This is helping this. This part is helping this part. We want to kind of allow them to activate at the same time to help. So I never stop this. I just don't do it. I teach people to understand that that's what they need to do to talk sometimes. A big thing I did is I used the swing at our house. I had my therapist go outside with him and let him swing and talk to him while he was swinging. That was really good. They'd come in and be like, I got so much speech off of him when he was swinging. That helped tremendously. I will also say a lot of our therapy for our kids is done sitting at the table, right? There's not a lot of movement sitting at the table. That's why a lot of times kids are trying to get their own movement in. So get up, ask your therapist to get up and move, dance, take a walk, move around, move with them, Simon Says, and talk, whatever you can do to get some movement going while you're trying to get language going. That's my big number 2. Okay, so allowing him to self-talk, engaging in his self-talk, allowing him to stim and move, talking to him while he's stimming and moving, moving with him, using a swing. The third one was to stop giving him the words I wanted him to say. Prompted speech, like say this, or let's say Ben wanted me to open this, right? He might have just handed it to me. Now, I know he wants me to open it. So at the beginning of Ben's therapy, I would be like, open, 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 until maybe he said it. I might partially prompt with the oh, it's open, or I might sit there and do nothing until then he says the word open. We'd fade those prompts out. But what I started doing instead was saying things like, why are you handing me this water bottle, Ben? And I knew he probably couldn't say, because I want you to open it, Mom. Like, I wasn't gonna get that language at first, but I would ask open questions. Why are you handing me this water, Ben? And if he said nothing, instead of saying open, open, I changed it, and I would say things like, you must be thirsty. Maybe you want me to open this. I know you love water, and I would model a few things, and then I would open it for him, and I would give it to him. Whether he said open or not, I would do that. It was like my own little experiment. But what it was allowing was when he was able to start producing speech, he wouldn't just stick with open. He would say, I'm thirsty, or I want water, something else. And that's this other side of the brain. Then if I said open, 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 he's using this. I want him to use here, spontaneous language, and start coming up with his own way of saying open this. And I am not saying stop prompting your kid, stop your whole speech therapy now and stop. I am telling you what I did that worked for Ben, and how prompting is using a different side of the brain than spontaneous language. If you want to see more spontaneous language, you have to approach it a bit differently. So if you are going to continue prompting, you want to add more of this other stuff to what you're doing. This is all in your hands, how you want to do your child's therapy, but this was a game changer when I stopped prompting Ben. It really helped him a lot. Okay, let's see. So that's number 3. Number 4, music. Music. You all know Ben loves music. A lot of kids with autism love music, have perfect pitch. Some of them can't talk but can sing. A dad just messaged me on the page yesterday and said the way he got his son to spell his name was through using the song Bingo. And I just felt like, of course, like music is teaching these kids so much when it comes to speech. So Dr. Harry was studying music and speech, and he would tell me that this highlighted the speech. The spontaneous language center would light up in functional MRIs when they played music and headphones in the MRI machines. They would see the spontaneous language centers light up. So music therapy is wonders. I know it's kind of like a new and growing field in autism, but I can totally see why it's so helpful. Incorporating music, incorporating singing in your child's therapy. Sing with them, play music in the background while you're speaking to them. Sing with them, maybe sing the sentences you want to say in like a sing-song way instead of having conversation. There's so much you can do with music. It's only going to help your child. So also, if you haven't presented music to your child who has autism, try. You never know. A lot of these kids are gifted with this, so it might surprise you if you give them a keyboard or a drum set or something like that. But music is a big one. So that's number 4. And my number 5 is talk, 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 talk. Talk all the time. Kids with autism tend to be very quiet unless they're self-talking. But Ben went through a few years where we called him Silent Bob because he said nothing. He just didn't talk at all. Some self-talk, but if he wasn't self-talking, it was so quiet. And we are so busy, and we're tired and we're stressed, and I understand the whole lifestyle of raising a child with autism. So when they're quiet, sometimes we're like, oh, okay, I can multitask now. I can get things done. I can work. I can do the dishes. I can run the laundry. And we kind of let them be, which I understand that also, but I will tell you this. The more you're talking when they're not talking, the better it is. I used to hire a kid up the street just to come in and talk to him. Just talk to him, just to model it. Because think of even like typical kids growing up. They're learning their speech from their family, from their parents. That's how they're learning to talk, number 1. So you as parents, grandparents, whoever's watching this, you as family are your child's number 1 therapist. Number 1 speech facilitator is you. So it's taking that role and giving it a lot of extra time. If they're quiet, go over to them. You know what they like. You know what makes them laugh. You know what's fun for them. Use the topics that are fun for them and engage with them. Start talking about it. Sit next to them. And if they're quiet, but keep talking about what you know is of interest to them. Join their world a bit and have that conversation. And all of a sudden, Ben would start to say something else. 2 words together around age 7. Not until 7. I mean, he's 14 now. But I didn't have 2 words together until 7. And Dr. Harry would tell me, watch around 11 years old if you keep doing this. And I was watching, and 2 words turned into 3 spontaneous things that I wouldn't tell him to say, turned into 4, and just kept going. And now he has a lot of his own expressions. And it's because we were working this part of the brain, and this together. Movement and music and spontaneous speech kind of going hand in hand. So talk. That is my 5th one. I know you guys can do it. I would not lose hope no matter where you are on this journey with your child. Number 1, know you're exactly where you're supposed to be right now. It's a journey for all of us. We're learning, we're exploring. These kids are teaching us. They're perfectly perfect just the way they are. But I know as parents, our hope is that they can express themselves and communicate their needs a little bit more. So sometimes it's going with that instinct more than what you're being told to do. Look at your speech and language programs. Look at your ABA programs. keep on whatever you want to keep on. Add this stuff. Ask your therapist to work a little differently. Ask them to work with movement. Ask them to work with music. Ask them to spend time not giving them the words, just modeling more. Take more time as yourselves as parents, please, and engage with these kids. Engage in their self-talk. Don't make it stop. Engage with it. Don't make this stop. Let it go. Do it with them and talk. This is more about educating other people to have tolerance to all these behaviors that help these kids communicate. But there is a lot of hope when it comes to language if you follow and use the part of the brain that really needs to be stimulated. Look up Harry D. Schneider. You may read some of his studies or see some information. Also, look up someone named Marcy Melzer. She is a speech language facilitator. She helps parents. I found her early in this process with Ben, coincidentally. She has tons of free videos. It's called Waves of Communication. And she just happens to help parents facilitate the language in the way I'm talking about. It was just a coincidence that I already work with Ben, the way that she encourages her parents to work with Ben, work with their children. So she's one to help facilitate and train and coach parents through the process of using more of a natural language approach to help bring out language and not so much a prompting approach. So something to look up, wavesofcommunication.com. She has a great YouTube site and lots of free videos. So also I just want to let you know that all these superpowers you see with Ben right now, it's great. Uncovering more and more of the abilities is wonderful. I did homeschool Ben. I am going to make some more videos about why I homeschooled Ben and some kind of learning, teaching strategies I used with him that were kind of a little different than what's happening in school. But allowing what they're good at, allowing their abilities to direct your approach with everything, your focus on everything, they can do so many wonderful things. We just have to notice them. And if I could rewind a little bit, early on in the years, I was so stressed about what he was not doing. And that can take away so much joy of the fact that you have a beautiful child right in front of you that's completely blessed, a total blessing with wonderful gifts to offer. But the stress of seeing what they're not doing, because therapy is a big focus of catching up, getting them to do things they're not doing. And the focus is usually on what we have to make up for and what we have to teach them to do. And you lose that in the moment kind of joy with your child. So important. It's important for speech, and it's important to allow that relaxation of just kind of being in it a bit. And I learned that along the way. I was too stressed early on. Ben was too stressed early on. I cut hours. People were adding hours. I cut hours. It was too much. And he would wake up in his crib and he'd go, do this, because that was the first thing he was taught to, like, imitate, clap your hands. So if he could imitate by clapping, he could imitate language down the line. That's the goal, right? But he would just randomly clap his hands and say, do this. I didn't love that. I could tell he was stressed, and he was a baby, and I was stressed. And so it's kind of like stepping back and not grabbing them into your world and joining their world. Then you uncover and see, like, wow, look what he can do. He's making some music. Are those beats on a pot and pan? Is that a real beat? And you're just a little more present and aware, and you can navigate that a little easier if you can just step away a little bit from the expectations and the stress of it all. It's okay to take days off. It's okay to cancel therapy sometimes and just relax and be present with your child. It's all good. Everyone's on a different part of this journey, but I hope that this helped you guys in a way. I'm gonna see if I can get to some questions. Also, before I do, if you could check out our new site, Ben and I worked really hard on it, autismsuperpowers.uscreen.io. I will link it underneath. We took all of his videos from over the year and a half now, I guess, and we categorized them, we catalyzed them, so that you can find them more easily. And there's some really good content. Some of it is subscription, a lot of it isn't. We're adding more and more to it, and we would appreciate if you would just check that out. I'll link it. I'll link Waves of Communication down here too. If anyone has any speech questions, I talked a ton on the phone while I was nursing. Oh, that was great. Someone said she talked a ton on the phone when she was nursing and he heard conversations and she thinks that helped him. Yes, all that modeling is so important. Thank you for sharing. You're welcome. You're welcome. You can share this video away. Don't worry about self-talk right now, please. There's time and place that you could teach that when they get older, where you can teach when they are more expressive. You can teach more of when it's okay to self-talk and when it isn't. What if the self-talk has no actual words? I notice my son, I would say talking, but no actual words or recognizable speech. So I guess more like sounds, that is. I allow it. I'd allow any sound Ben was making, if it was mumbled, if it was anything. I didn't want to turn it off, but I would still go over to him maybe and start talking to him about whatever he's doing when he's making those sounds. So let's say when your child's making those sounds, he's watching something on TV, I would talk about that show. Or if he's building with blocks, I would talk about what he's building and join into that. And then you might start to recognize a word later on. Yes, but it's like he's having a conversation with us. That's really interesting. Can you share some helpful information how you homeschool? I'm going to make another video all about homeschool, because I think more and more kids with COVID are homeschooling and may continue to homeschool as well. That might be a choice we have. So I will definitely make a video about that or go live about that next. A lot of people on here. Oh, I could scroll. I don't know live videos yet, guys. Okay. Any other questions? Just a lot of hellos, hellos, hellos. I'm going to keep this video up for a few hours. I hope that this was helpful to you all. Ben is so appreciative of everyone following him. This started as a little book, a little homeschool project that just went global, and we just can't be happier and more grateful for our followers, because without a community of people sharing this mission, there's nothing we can do with our mission. You know, we just want to teach everyone else. Did Ben use an iPad to help promote speech? He did not use his iPad for speech. They were going to give him an iPad to talk instead, and we didn't go that route. Okay, guys, I think this is mostly of what music is big in my home. Keep the music going, keep singing, keep movement, keep playing, swing, dance, talk, talk, talk. Don't give your child the words. Let them come up with it over time on their own. Give them examples, describe things, and just have fun with them, please, because the fun helps a lot. Okay, and we hope to see you guys all on our page. Leave some comments if you want some other types of live videos or topics that I can cover about Ben and his development. I'd be happy to do that. And I hope this helped you in some way. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great day. Bye, guys. Bye.